The place to be is living free in Tennessee.
Welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Friday, December 12th, 2025, and this is episode 1106 of Living Free in Tennessee. It's a Friday show, so I'm usually joined by the Tactical Redneck, but I think he forgot. So, somebody knows how to reach him. You might want to let him know he's supposed to be on the show right now. I decided to see what would happen if I didn't remind him 9 times this morning. And it looks like he forgot. So anyway, we're going to do updates from the homestead anyway. Before we do that, I want to talk about our featured event of today's show, and that is next Saturday at 12 p.m. Not the one in a day, but the one next Saturday. We have the Living Free in Tennessee reception, and it'll be at the Base Camp Lodge, and we're roasting a lamb. I'm actually going to roast it on Friday, though, so it's all done on time for sure. Anyway, you can sign up for that at livingfreeintennessee.com. There is an RSVP button. If you go to the event section, scroll down on the event page, you'll see where you fill out the form. I'd love to know if you're coming, just so we can plan for how many people will be there. Okay, cool. We have 2 sponsors to thank today as well. Our first sponsor is Matthew Sursley from agristaxadvice.com. Works with you to help you keep more of your money in your pocket by analyzing where your money's going and what write-offs you might be eligible for that you are not taking, or maybe some alterations in how you're structured will work out for that, especially if you owe like $20,000 to $30,000 in taxes at the end of the year, or you've paid that much. Reach out to Matthew, do the free consult. He will go through and talk to you about, if what he can do will help you. And if he doesn't think he can help you, he's not taking your money. That's why he does a free consult. He also has a free downloadable guide for you at agristaxadvice.com/LFTN. And you'll end up giving him your email address in exchange for the download. The download's really helpful for just seeing like some basic overviews of tax structure that you may want to know about, especially if you're starting a business. But he's been a great supporter of the show for several years now. agristaxadvice.com/LFTN. Our second sponsor of today's show also has to do with money. And that's like when you save all the money because you figured out how to properly document and track and structure yourself, and you have more money in your pocket and you have savings. Sometimes you have so much savings, it's time to do what? Invest your money. Check out John Pugliano of the Wealth Steading podcast. He's got a great podcast. It's about 15 minutes every week. Sometimes he does 2 shows. Sometimes he does no shows. He's coming up on episode 500. I don't know if he passed it this week or not, but it's close. And it's all very digestible. I think it's a great place to start if you haven't invested, but also if you're invested, if you are like a savvy investor, he's a great guy to listen to because he assesses things not through the lens of panic, but through the lens of making money. And he is a self-made millionaire. That's investablewealth.com. And if you click on podcasts, you'll see how to connect with his podcast there, or just use your podcatcher, look up the Wealth Steading podcast, and you hit subscribe. And if you want to meet him in person, come to the Living Free in Tennessee Spring Workshop, which is at the end of April. He'll be there. Jack Spirko will be there. Alan Booker will be there. Opal and Bringer will be there. All of us will be there. And you can have some quality time with him if you have more questions. Okay, guys. Happy Friday to Kiri, Debbie, Plumber Mickey, Margot, Martinson family, and Pack Rat. I see that you've already started commenting. If you want to get my attention or ask about something in the comments, just put the word question or comments in all caps. So again, if anybody knows how to reach Tactical, you might want to let him. He's supposed to be on a show right now because I think he just completely spaced it. Anyway, first thing I want to talk about this week from the homestead. So we've been having this cycle of cold and warm and cold and warm, and it got cold again. And we went out to the goat barn and Wilma was gone. She had passed away. Tactical told me that she hadn't really been moving much the night before, like didn't get up like she usually does, which with ruminants, that's a good time to have somebody else look at the animal, but often it can be too late. My theory is she either old aged out or she got an upper respiratory infection. I'm not sure because he came out the next day and she had passed. So Now we have a single goat on the homestead, and rest in peace, Wilma. Wilma originates from John Willis's place, and she came here, and that's the maddest I've ever seen a goat in my life was when Wilma arrived at the Holler Homestead. And then she was so mad, the pig broke out of her cage to come up and see what was going on. So that was a big day, as I recall, on the homestead. Clover is a lonely goat now, so she needs more pet heads. Also, if you want to adopt Clover, let me know, because we don't plan to continue with the goats here anyway. So rather than get another companion goat, I think it would be great if Clover could move in with some other friends, so she's not a lonely goat. And she doesn't get along great with sheep. She has horns, and I don't like it when they get into the establishing dominance headbutting thing. So we'd have to see if all the goats get along to move her, but she would love to look for a new place to live. She just doesn't know that yet, because otherwise she's just going to be a lonely goat. I think she was alone here for a year before. She did okay, but she just likes companionship at that. I mean, herd animals are herd animals for a reason. So every so often you lose somebody on the homestead, and this time it was a 50-pound somebody, basically. So that's news from the pasture. The other news from the pasture, how are those sheep looking for delivering this week, Tactical?
Like Bruni, I think she's been educating them on how to be pregnant and not give birth.
Yeah, so Bruni last year became enormous and didn't give birth. We thought she was eminent for weeks. The funny thing is, if they don't give birth in about the next 7 days, they were not impregnated out of season. And they just got pregnant in October and then became immediately enormous and looking like they were going to have babies.
I don't know. Bruni's like, I read your book that says 5 months, and I don't care. I'm waiting 6.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Like, I think Bruni literally takes longer.
She might take longer.
So, I mean, they're doing like what, the next couple of days?
Next week, yeah.
Yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me if 2 weeks after we ended up with babies.
That would be really convenient because I won't be here.
Which is why it'll probably happen.
Uh-huh. Hey, did you know we had a show today?
Yeah.
Did you forget what time it was?
I just wasn't paying attention because...
Did somebody text you and tell you were supposed to be on the show?
No.
Oh, okay. You guys cannot text him now. He figured it out. I was like, wonder what happens if I don't remind him. Does he just show up anyway?
He's playing with God's jigsaw puzzle.
God's jigsaw puzzle? What's that? Is that rocks? Were you stacking rocks again? Okay, so whenever he gets really overwhelmed, he stacks rocks. That's what he does.
Well, you said the blueberries needed to go in, and so I was trying to get one of the 2 spots ready for them.
The rose needs to go in too.
Yeah.
That's less motivating, isn't it?
Especially considering I just finished hacking out a ton of rose.
Yeah, but that one doesn't get like that. It's just little bush. Stays
you know how many
bush.
times that thing has almost ripped my pants open before?
Well, if it's not in the carport and you don't have to walk by it all the time, it won't rip your pants open. Another reason to put it somewhere. Packrat says animals often don't read the same husbandry book as we do. Yeah, I mean, they've been pretty solidly 5 months-ish from conception to birth, but who knows? Like, nobody looks like they're about to give birth. They just look like they can barely walk. They're doing the straight back leg walk, I
mean, Allie looks like she's ready to pop, but still has no udder to speak of.
Mm-hmm.
Cloudy looks big and has the starting of an udder, but it hasn't gotten
I think Cloudy
bigger.
is probably not till March. So when I think about when we put the rams in, was it right before or right after SRF?
It was right after.
Yeah, so I think so. So the Monday after SRF was like the 7th. 7th or 8th, they went in. And that would be the 7th or 8th of March if on the first day the deal was closed.
Yeah.
So
Amy or Allie, though, she looks like she's trying to compete with Bernie for how big she gets.
maybe there's quadruplets in there in March. That would be fun.
That'll be interesting.
Or we're going to get some babies. We don't know.
That means we're either trying to get one of her babies onto somebody else or we're bottle feeding.
Yeah, I hope we don't have to bottle feed. Bottle feeding is not my favorite.
No.
I mean, bottle feeding a kitten was enough this 12-month period of time. And that only lasted a few weeks if you think about it. Like, sheep last longer than kittens. Yeah. And they require late night deliveries of milk to the pasture because you want them with the other sheep as much as possible.
Yeah.
I said the word kitten and Squeaks just ran by.
Squeaks!
Squeaks! Hi, Squeaks.
Squeaks!
She's coming over. Go pick her up when she comes over and give her a pet head. That's exactly what we want to have happen when we call your name is you come when you're called. Good, Squeaks. We're trying to train the kitten to not be a beast because apparently bottle babies turn into beasts if you don't train them right. So Squeaks is doing well. She had her first vet appointment this week, and they confirmed that she's a female. We were a little ambiguous because everything's very small in that department. But
don't be rude.
Yeah, she's also learning not to be rude, which means don't jump on the counter, etc., or do anything I don't want you to do. And she responds to the dog correction noise of "eh," which I'm not going to do in earnestness right now because she's not doing anything bad. Eh. She just did something bad. She's like, oh. So what's interesting about training this kitten is she's not, you know, like how cats look you in the eye and then do something wrong anyway. She seems to want to do what we want her to do so far. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I complain that she's putting her teeth on my skin, she's like, oh yeah, lick, lick. And then she does it again. And I go, I make the noise. And then she goes, oh yeah, lick, lick. And then she stops, which is good because if we don't do that now at this age, she'll turn into an adult cat that bites. And I think with bottle babies, because their first connection with you is that food, they're used to putting their mouth on you. And so it's like the greeting is hello, bite. Well, hello, bite is fine at 2 weeks and less fine at 2 months and way less fine at 2 years if they don't learn not to bite down all the way. So we've been working on that. I've never trained a bottle kitten before, but I had one really well-trained cat. I currently have 2 less well-trained cats and this cat, and she's getting the full treatment because I was actually planning not to have any more cats until these 2 cats were gone. So bad habits would not be taught by other felines to felines. But then the Cat Delivery Network, or CDN, delivered a kitten to my door that could not be refused. I've been really good at resisting cats until there was the bottle kitten.
You know.
Unless you want her.
I mean, she might end up down there.
Yeah, mom's, I think, a little sad about leaving the kitten when she goes home.
Kitten could go home with her.
I know. She could take the kitten to her house and then hand her back to me in Boise. She'd be a jet-setting kitten at that point. She is up to date. I mean, she can go on a plane now. I don't have a real ID for her, though.
About that.
Yeah? What about that?
Also reminds me I got asked about getting on a plane.
Yeah?
No.
No?
No.
If there's an emergency. Is your passport up to date?
No.
Okay. It might be worth having that up to date in case there's ever an emergency that you actually feel like warrants folding yourself into a pretzel on a plane.
I need to get my passport updated, but like there's nowhere that I'm going to go logistically that makes sense to fly.
You plugged in the fridge outside today, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Because like when you add up the amount of time to get to an airport, get through security, get on a plane, possibly get on another plane, finally get to the final destination, and then it's still an hour to 2 hours to drive to get to where you're going, it just makes more sense to drive, and then I have a vehicle there.
Okay.
So I just don't see any reason in the foreseeable future that I have any need to get on a plane.
Understood. What do you think about community deer drops?
I like that kind of community deer drop.
Yeah. My neighbor found out we like venison, and Tactical does not hunt. And I also do not hunt. And he was like, do you want a deer? the other day. And so we have a whole deer that we're cutting up. I did some steaks yesterday, prepared some for grind, and I've just been letting the deer quarters age in the fridge until they're a little bit, they've been around for 5 to 7 days. So I'll start cutting that up this weekend though, because I have choir. I have a pretty busy weekend, and I can't do it all in one go. So I can do one piece at a time while I do all of the choir concerts for Master Singers, mastersingersinc.com if you want tickets. That's on Sunday at 3. And so we have dress rehearsal. We're doing a Holler Roast booth on Sunday before it, just a little table with some things for sale. And not a lot of things, because I don't know that people going to a Christmas concert are going to buy a ton of coffee. But I was like, well, can't hurt. If somebody wants to buy chocolate-covered espresso bites, there we will be. So Margot says we're getting on a plane next Friday. Yay! And then you'll be at the LFTN Christmas reception on Saturday. Yeah.
Is that next week?
Uh-huh. Were you wondering why I was so type-A about some things yesterday?
No, I just typical fashion, like I am completely oblivious to a calendar.
Yeah. But anyway, so we have the venison, and I'm going to start with the hams probably tomorrow if I don't have a lot of roasting to do. I've had a lot of roasting to do. So hollerroast.com has had a lot of good orders for Christmas, gift wrapped orders, people who are like, hey, I have a spreadsheet of 20 people I want to send something about in this price range to, that we've shipped out. And all of that stuff's out, but that just meant a lot of extra roasting the last couple weeks, which is great. And I have, I think, 2 more orders in this morning, so it's slowed down a little bit. We've been doing perks every week. So right now, if you buy over $50, you get a $5 gift certificate, and then you get entered to win a $50 gift certificate at the end of the week. That is good through midnight Sunday. And so we've had a lot of orders coming in from that. Plus, Jack's Bourbon Cooled, I only have 40 pounds. We'll have less now. And then he said it on his podcast. So we were doing a lot of Jack's, which only comes in a tin this year. The problem being that I could not restock those beans from the farm because the coffee world is disrupted. So what I have is what I have until shipping starts working again from that part of the world. So, so assuming that I don't have a ton of orders tomorrow morning, I will start on the hams and cut the hams. And I think I'm going to do 2 cured hams like I did with the juniper berries, the recipe that Andy gave me.
Yeah.
And Andy Eddings. And then I'll have those maybe at the spring workshop, maybe not. We'll see. Like, people really like when we do something like serve venison at the spring workshop, but it's not a lot of meat. Like, the deer in Tennessee are a lot smaller than if you're from Ohio or somewhere. So 2 venison hams won't feed the whole workshop. So I just have to think about that. And then we have some shoulder roasts, and then the rest will be ground. And I may make venison sausage instead of just straight up ground venison, or venison meatloaves.
Everybody is missing the complete and utter kitten chaos.
Tactical is smitten with the kitten.
You just missed the entire, like, power sliding on the Christmas tree skirt across the living room floor.
That's why that skirt's not under the Christmas tree. She's always pulling it out.
Attempting to scale the Christmas tree.
We have a kitten-safe Christmas tree this year. And here's my strategy. You get a fake tree so it doesn't have the nice wood stock for them to crawl up. And then you put all plastic and or wood ornaments on it, and none of them lower than about 2.5 feet off the ground. Tinsel is a no-go. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. Nothing that can't be ruined is on that tree. And so far, she hasn't discovered ornaments. So that's the funny part of that.
Yeah.
But she has discovered the Christmas tree skirt, which you can run all the way across the living room, stop when you hit the skirt, which turns into a giant fabric sled, and then the kitten slides and the skirt comes with her, and then eventually we put the skirt back under the tree.
Also, don't buy cat toys at the store.
Just use baling
twine is like one of the favorite cat toys ever.
I also bought these candy canes that light up, that you put in a little spiky thing in the ground if you don't hang them, and I hung 4 of them, and those spiky things are a really good toy. And then my chairs have Yeah, this is the spike. And then the chairs that we're sitting in have these like rubber cups under them to keep them from scratching the floor. And every so often they wear out. And her absolute number one favorite toy is a spent rubber cup from a chair foot. She carries it around. It's currently missing, but it'll pop back up. I also have musicians' earplugs. They're shaped to my ears. These were in the bathroom, and I found one on the floor, and the other one's missing. So we're being very careful when we vacuum or sweep because I'm sure she carried it off somewhere, and I guess I have to store that in a way you can't climb up into a shelf and grab your item and then make off with it like it's hers, because she pretty much thinks everything's hers.
Yeah, everything pretty much is
everything
hers.
is hers, right? So that is part of the fun. Okay, can you explain to us the design of the compost bin that you and Valerie made yesterday?
It's essentially the frame for an IBC, like the metal part. There's the ones that we have a spot at the bottom where they were bolted to the pallet, which I removed. And so there was a gap in the bar. So I used a piece of fence wire to basically put a splice in there so that doesn't open up. And then we used aluminum window screen and weed cloth to wrap inside of that frame and fastened it with stainless steel safety wire or mousing wire, depending on who you're talking to. People call it different things, but it's basically just a thin piece of stainless wire that's twisted on with a tool. So it's it's not like you're just like twisting it by hand. And then I've got 2 pieces of 4-inch PVC with holes in it. And they make it looks like weed cloth and a pair of pantyhose got together and had a baby. It's like 100-foot piece of weed cloth, but it's in a tube shape. So I cut, whatever, I cut 4.5 feet, stuck the PVC in it and just tied a knot on both ends. And that is the breather tubes that will go in the middle. And the general idea is that once you fill these and everything composts down, it's all going to settle, and it'll be easy for 2 people just to grab each side, pick it up a foot or 1.5 feet, whatever, move it over, and just refill it.
Are the breather tubes affixed, or do you just put those in? And because I know in the other ones, we just make the tubes and we stand them straight, and then they can be pulled out after a few weeks when the compost starts.
Yeah, these, like, with the way that one is, I think somebody was holding the tubes while they were filling until you get it full enough. There's 2 crossbars at the top of this cage that I'm basically just going to put a zip tie on it so it will hold the breather tube in place while you're filling it. And then if you want to pull the tube out, you can. I'm planning on just leaving it until it's done. But I think you can go either way with that. But
so how this compost pile is going to be used different than your typical Johnson Sioux is, I believe this is the one we will be adding kitchen scraps to, right? On an ongoing basis until it's full and we declare it full. That was my intention with it.
That's up to you.
Yes.
I have another compost bin that I was going to put together that I have not gotten around to putting together yet. But
yeah, so with compost that we make, we add biochar, we balance the green and the brown and all of that. And it's the Johnson Sioux method, which has been refined to a smaller scale by Jack Spirko. If you take his composting course, you'll understand. And this is a way of using a different framework than what he uses. That's an experiment in some ways, because we haven't done a square pile, we've done a round pile. But it's the same concept. And the thing about that method is usually you just build the whole pile with manure and all of those things. And so scooping out the duck coop, for example, is a great way to start it. And you layer that with biochar. And if you had been up on your biochar this year and been putting biochar in your duck coop as you went, which we have not, it would just be there. So it gets full, and then you water it really good. You cap it with wood chips and let it go for a year. And at the end of that, as long as it doesn't dry out, so you need I think it's the equivalent. I can't remember how many gallons off for that size pile, but there's a certain number of gallons of water it has to get, about an inch of rain by volume on the top per week to keep it from drying out. And that's adjustable based on how humid and or dry your climate is. In Tennessee this year, we got enough rain the whole time. See, we didn't have to water. We watered it in, and then that was it. But we had an extremely predictably rainy year this year, even through the hottest part of the summer. We finally had some days of dry, and I was checking by that time the compost pile had gone down 12 inches and was perfectly happy. It was perfectly wet. So that's the method we use. And if you don't do it all at once like that, what you can do is layer kitchen scraps with leaf mulch and manure and wood chips as you go. And then
Don't be rude.
When it's all the way full, you cap it, water it in real good, and then you leave it for a year. And the reason you do that is if you're layering a compost pile, it's like adding batter to a cake when you're baking a cake, right? You put it in the oven, and then you open the oven and add batter. Well, that part you just added is less cooked than the rest of it. Time heals all wounds. Eventually it's fine. But the issue with the kitchen scraps is they are ongoing all year. And the second issue with the kitchen scraps is the dogs like some of them. So we want to keep the dogs out of it. So I think we should just do kitchen scraps for this one because we don't have enough to fill it with the duck coop, do we?
Oh, I have enough to fill both of them.
Okay. Well, I need a kitchen scrap one urgently because my confession is kitchen scraps have not been being composted for the last 2 months.
I need a piece of 2-inch PVC.
Okay. You've needed that for 2 months.
Yeah, well,
yeah. So
there's lots of things that I need.
Anyway, I'd like to get back to keeping our nutrient on the homestead if we can, and at least turn one of these into the kitchen one until that one gets built.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you can't put duck coop in it.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I actually don't think that it's a good idea to use one of those for that.
Why?
Because the dogs will tear through the screen.
Okay.
Or something else will.
Well, if you keep the scraps on the inside and buried, the dogs don't really notice it.
I would argue that point.
Okay. Anyway.
I've had one of the piles up there. I don't know if it was a dog or a possum or something, but multiple places had the side torn open, and that was aluminum window screen as well. And I'm fairly certain whatever was in there was buried and something still tore into it.
I guess that just means we need to find your 2-inch piece of PVC. Is there one on the property?
I thought there was, and I have not found one yet.
Okay. When are you going to town next?
I don't know.
Does it have to be PVC, or can it be like a screen circle like we did with
it's going
up there?
Work. It's going to work better in the long run if it's PVC because it'll hold up better.
Okay. So when I brought up the memory garden today, what did you think of that idea?
Sounds cool.
Can you tell them what a memory garden is?
Not really.
Do you know what we're talking about doing there?
Kind of.
It's at my friend's house, and she talked about her memory garden where she scatters ashes of her animals. And her husband, I think, is there too. Or part of him might be there. I don't know. Cremated, obviously. And I thought that was a really cool idea because we have the whole thing where when animals die, we bury them in this place. Well, at some point, that place gets rather full of remains when you have a lot of animals around. And sometimes people die and you're given a little bit of their ashes. What do you do with those? So my thought was that we move towards, we put the animals there and then plant something that reminds us of the animal in the garden and have a little bench where you can sit and read or journal or pray or whatever you want to do, but have a memory garden near the vegetable gardens. There's a logical place for it. And it's already where the cemetery is here on the property. So we've been talking just about that design, not that it's a priority right now, but just you have to know the thing's going to go there when you're planning other things that go there. So yeah. Plumber Mickey says, I have 2 trees in my yard with ashes from my parents. Exactly. That's sort of the concept. And my thought was we choose a plant that reminds us of that animal, so to speak. So, yeah, too bad I didn't get Nash's remains. He just disappeared off the face of the earth, as animals will do from time to time. Operation Leaf Collection is under control. Is it worth the effort, in your opinion?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we've gotten way more leaves this year than we've ever gotten before, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What Tactical doesn't know is there are more bags in Nashville waiting for us.
Okay.
Yeah. But you want to go get them?
Not really.
That's okay. I wasn't going to ask you to go get them.
Asking me if I want to go somewhere in Nashville on purpose for any reason. No.
No? Okay. Well, I'm also not going to go there when I drop Mom off at the airport at 2 a.m. So, because then that would be sort of, weird. If you know what I mean. Poking around behind somebody's house, picking up bags of leaves at 3 a.m. might make them grumpy. Might cause somebody's dog to bark. Might cause me to get questioned by the police. What are you doing? I'm loading these bags of leaves in the middle of the night because I was here anyway. Also, my mom is flying out in the middle of the night.
Apparently.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was possible to go that early, but apparently they now go that early from Nashville. So I need to look up when the checkpoint opens. The security checkpoint, which is not open 24 hours a day.
Oh.
Yeah. There's no point in arriving before they're open.
I mean, I would imagine that they're open at least an hour before the flight.
At least. Yeah. So, yeah, Operation Leaf Collection has made it so we could mulch in the garlic with that, the turmeric with that. All of my beds have a coating of it. And what are you doing with Hillside Garden right now?
So far, I've run the weed eater through there to knock down whatever I can. And this morning, I went through with the pruning shears and cut all of the rows up there, literally down to or under the ground. And then my plan is to throw a bunch of cardboard on top of where the roses were, and then an excessive amount of leaves on top of that.
If we got the wood chips at Liza's, we could wood chip on top of the leaves.
You want to go get wood chips at Liza's?
I do want to.
Do you have time to?
Not today, because Mom and I are going to go on a retreat this afternoon and work on a book.
I have a feeling you're not going to do it tomorrow either.
No, tomorrow I'm going to get up in the middle of the night, drive Mom to town, produce the coffee that has to be shipped tomorrow, go to dress rehearsal, go on a walk through the lights of Long Branch, probably by myself because probably nobody wants to go with me who lives in the holler, and I want to walk through the pretty Christmas lights, go to bed, and then get up the next morning and have a choir concert.
Yeah, so I would tend to think that in the next 3 days, that's not happening.
Well, butchering a deer.
Yeah.
That's how homes work.
Yeah, way too much.
That probably sounds like too much, guys, and it isn't. It's just you have to do one thing at a time, and you have to be okay with sometimes things don't get it done all the way, so you rapidly prioritize what is getting done, and That's what I've learned about homesteading, because what I hear from homesteaders a lot is like how they're overwhelmed and have too much and can't keep up and that sort of thing. What if you weren't meant to keep up? You always have something to do. And when you become really good at prioritizing, you have a lot less heartache about the things that aren't quote unquote done. But I find we make better momentum when we have those meetings in the morning and write the list on the board. And even if we don't get the whole list done that we thought we were going to do, we get a lot of it done.
I think if anybody ever completes their list was incomplete.
Yeah. So, yeah, this weekend's going to be a fun one because Holler Roast is at the Franklin Farmers Market, or not the Farmers Market, Christmas Market. And then we're also doing that. Thank you to Lynn for helping with that, to do the little table at the concert. And then there's the concert. And then Monday is the last day to order and still have a chance. Well, not have a chance, but still get the post office guarantees you'll get it by the 25th as much as the post office guarantees anything. And that means that order by the 15th. I'll try to get it out the 15th, but if I don't, it'll go the 16th. And then starting the 16th, they'll say you're getting it by Christmas, and you might if you're close, or you might not. It just depends. But this year, they usually go up till the 19th or so. This year, they have reduced their own expectations on themselves. That's what's happened at the post office. Charles has a wood chipper. I know who Charles is. Do you?
I'm assuming over there would.
Yeah, over there, Charles.
Yeah.
We want out where you live, Charles, but you're over there, Charles. That's what we know. Okay. The mushroom experiment, actually, what do you think of my mushroom experiment?
Oh,
I don't know. It's always your answer. I don't know.
I have not paid attention to your mushroom experiment at all.
This is my mushroom experiment. You can show them this jar this way. So that was started yesterday because we harvested the blue oyster mushrooms. And what we're doing is using coffee grounds, which we produce a lot of, to get the spore to spread. And this is the same thing that's been going for about a week. And the reason this one just started yesterday is that I cut mushrooms yesterday. So the only thing I'm lacking right now is a spray bottle to spray water in those that's only had water in it. And it's because I don't want to get a cheap Dollar Tree one. I like the more industrial ones you can get. And it's doing a good job of growing spores. I think by the end of next week, we'll have a full jar of the sporified coffee grounds. And then I'm going to mix that 50-50 with wood chips in and make a little fruiting block with my vacuum sealer.
Okay.
And it has to be compacted real well. So we'll see how that works. And then I will try to get those in the Martha tent to fruit.
Okay.
And if that happens, that means we don't have to buy fruiting blocks all the time. Just by keeping the mushrooms going. So I have pink oysters going. I have blue oysters going. I do not have lion's mane going. I might try lion's mane, but I wanted to get the easy button, which is basically oyster mushrooms, to see if we could get them out. And if that's the case, then I am starting to tap into the waste stream of coffee grounds that we produce here at an amazing rate of coffee ground production. And we will probably kick that up to see if we can continue to produce more and more. Because I have had mushrooms for sale from time to time. And as we're going down the whole general store line, it'd be nice to have mushrooms available to purchase. But also I like eating mushrooms a lot. So that's part of the fun. Okay. Tell us how the rabbits are doing. Rabbit update time.
I mean, they're being rabbits. They're still rabbits.
What's happening in about 4 weeks?
Hopefully they're
additional rabbits. That's an important update from the homestead.
I mean, I guess it was last weekend that we brought them.
Yeah. It was last week, not weekend. But yeah.
I thought it was over the weekend.
No, it was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Might have been Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, actually.
Okay.
I don't know. There's a calendar where I write that stuff down.
Okay. I did not write that down.
Yeah, so the rabbits have been bred, and Valerie's been here working on getting a rabbit system in place. I don't know what we're doing next on getting a better system. Is it changing the cages at this point?
The cages are going to have to get dealt with because the ones that are there now are literally starting to rust apart.
Yeah, the deal with rabbits is they have urine that makes metal rust, and even coated metal coating wears out.
I think this is just those cages.
Oh no, everybody I know who has rabbits has this problem.
Well, these are rusted top to bottom and they ain't pissing on the top.
Okay. Well, they've been out in the rain though.
Not, I mean, out in the weather, yes. Getting a little bit wet, yes. But there is a roof over that thing.
Yeah. So ultimately, we want to build a rabbit shelter and do tractored rabbits. But what we know works well is hanging cages with a breeding schedule. And that's what we've been able to manage. We're working on a better poop collection system that collects the turds, but not the liquid. And right now you have a bin set up for the poop. But I think we're talking about trying one of Valerie's systems of getting the round pellets to stay round and dry-ish.
Yeah. I'm curious to see with actually making sure that those trays get emptied once a week, at least, how that's going to change the
quality of the pellet.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the trays has always been it ends up a soggy mess.
Well, also it gets rained on because it's not in a structure.
To an extent.
Yeah.
But, like, looking at it yesterday, it's like it was not nasty. I wouldn't have wanted to handle one of those trays without a pair of gloves on, but, I mean, it wasn't a nasty mess. And so getting it dumped into an IBC where it can just sit for a while, I'm going to be curious to see how that does.
Yeah, well, and I know that drying the pellets works really well from providing them to other people, because we're going to end up either using them all or selling bags of rabbit manure in the spring for gardening, which people love rabbit manure. So that's part of that whole system. And she has a way of collecting them, I think, where they dry and slide down a ramp, or I don't know. There's a whole separating the urine thing. So we'll do some videos on that as that develops. We haven't really sat down and made decisions about what we're doing, but it's time to do that.
Yeah.
What's up with the Canoe Rose Bed?
That was a really good idea when I thought about it.
And then you started doing it. It was a pain in the butt.
And then I flipped the canoe over and found out that there was about 150 screws in that thing. So I was able to get some of them out with an impact, and then pliers and vice grips for the rest of them. And I think there was only one that got basically stripped off down to the fiberglass because it would just not move. But we got, I think, all of the old junk out of it. So I probably will at some point flip it over and sand it down to put a fresh coat of paint on the outside, cut some holes in the bottom, and should be good.
Yeah, so we have a canoe that's broken, and it's been here for a long time, and we decided where to put roses at base camp because Valerie gave us 4 rose plants that have not been put in the ground yet. And I was like right in front of the porch would look really good. And it's maybe not the best sun situation for them, as a matter of fact, but it'll work. And so I was talking about how to prepare the ground for roses, because you don't want a lot of competing plants around roses. You just want them being roses.
Yeah.
Well, and these are not wild roses, so they're not just going to take over the world. And so he leaves to go pick up the cow and then calls me and says, I had this idea about the canoe and the roses. And I thought he was going to call me and like complain about picking up the cow or tell me that he had a flat tire because you had literally just left, and you never just reach out to me after you've just left unless there's a problem. Or you forgot your wallet.
I literally had just gotten on Dale Ridge.
Yeah, you were like, so I was thinking we could just paint that canoe real cute and that would look cool. I was like, yeah, it's either that or throw the canoe away. So
my thought with that too was it gives me an edge that I can mow up against and not dump massive amounts of grass clippings into it.
Also true, because we do still mow. So that's happening, and apparently it's in progress. We have vomited Christmas lights all over our places at the Holler, right?
Yes.
Yes. You love that, don't you?
No.
Why not?
Because there's lights where there shouldn't be.
So?
Talking to the person that notices everything out of the ordinary.
I think you should embrace the cheer of the nice lights. I think my favorite one was I'm riding on the four-wheeler with him because the other four-wheeler is not starting right now.
It starts. You just got to know how to do it.
And then he drives really close to the line of candy canes, gives it a glare, and then rides on. That's basically what you did, right?
What I was actually doing was driving over some loose dirt that was in the hole that I had thrown there earlier that day to pack it in.
Okay. I thought you were glaring at the candy cane lights. I think it's great. We have, so Tracy came out and Mom and Tracy and I decorated the banister that leads up to base camp, and there's a wreath on the door, and we have a little row of trees, and there's candy canes, and then in Tajmaholler I have, lights under here, and it just makes me feel festive. So,
Okay.
You don't like it, huh?
Like, I don't care about Johnny's lights because I can't see them. But when I can walk out my back porch and see a light through the trees that's not supposed to be there, and what is that supposed to? Like, is there somebody at base camp that's not supposed to be? Oh, wait, no. There's an extra set of lights over there that I didn't know about.
So why have you been calculating alternative routes home from Cookeville?
Well, it's not something that I have been calculating. It's just something that I know.
Mm-hmm. Have you used many of them this week?
I wound up not having to, but I was about to.
Yeah, so there was a fatality on I-40. In fact, more than once this week, parts of I-40 were closed due to fatal crashes. And I bring this up because this time of year that it seems like there's an uptick in that. Like maybe people feel more frantic. And to the extent that you can protect your sleep, your mental health, all of those things, and don't do stupid driving just because you are obligated to go to an LFTN party, for example. Now, we are not forecast to have snow that day, but if we were and you told me you were coming and then you didn't show up, I'm not going to be mad, right? And that should be true for all. Yeah, it did happen before. That should be true for all of your family or anybody. And if they are mad, then do they really care about you at all? So the thing I'm trying to make here is having alternative routes is really important, because if there is a fatal crash, getting around that is nice. And I was aware of it and told him, so he was aware of it. And he told me there was a big backup. I think that's why I became aware of it. But that was, they had closed I-40 going one direction, and I'm sure it caused traffic going the other direction to check out what was going on. And they said they were going to have it open at 8 in the morning. It was not open until 3 in the afternoon, that area. So, And the alternative route that he had was literally the alternative route that they were routing people on, which was not ideal. So then it was like an alternative to the alternative was going to be sought out.
No, I already knew what it was.
Right. And then right as he was about to get back on, he said, it looks like it's starting to clear up on the highway. And I said, well, it shows maybe a 10-minute delay on the freeway, but the route they were sending people on to go around the closure looks like a nightmare right now. So I recommend actually throwing yourself to the freeway timeline. And that's what you did, right? Like, I'm sure it was heavy traffic.
I mean, it was, but like when I was driving in, traffic was basically stopped for at least 6 miles. And when I was walking into a store, in my phone, just punched in Lowe's, Cookville, and our address, got the route. And what it was doing was telling people to get off at exit 283. And so I was going to take a back route to get to that spot, but knowing the routes and what Google was telling people to do, it's like, okay, if I take the southern route, I've got to merge in with everybody trying to get off the interstate. If I take the first northern route that's north of the interstate, I still have to merge into all of those people. Well, there is a third route that's even further north that only locals are going to know about. And the only people that are actually going to be on that road are people that were going to use it anyway, or locals that know about it and don't pay attention to GPS. So, and it also bypasses the exit that I normally get off on, which is the exit that Google was telling everybody to get back on the interstate. And that route goes to the next one down. So my plan was, until I drove across the interstate and saw that it was opening back up, my plan was just to shoot up to the northern route, which was going to take me like an extra 3 minutes to get up there, and just take that the whole way back, bypassing every bit of stupid. And that was just like, I already knew all of those different routes. And so all I had to do to figure that out was just pull my phone out and look at what Google was telling people to do. And within 3 seconds was like, oh, I'm going all the way up to 70.
Yep. Well, and you could have gone through Sparta. That would have taken you an hour or two and just been less aggravating.
Yeah, it would have taken a lot. It would have taken a good amount longer.
Yeah, it takes about an hour that way.
Yeah, it would have been closer to an
But
hour.
it would have been nowhere near any of the spiciness.
Yeah.
So we have about 10 minutes left on this live stream, guys, if you have questions or want to hear about something. But I need to brainstorm something with Tactical while we're here. Next Friday, we are roasting a whole lamb.
Okay.
And said lamb is currently a lambsicle. And the lamb needs to not be a lambsicle, but it can't just be a lambsicle at room temperature. Like, you can't defrost it room temperature. How do you suppose we ought to defrost said lamb in a safe way so it's not a lambsicle? And I was hoping to, maybe undo some of the stiff leg look.
The legs.
So it fits in the roasting box that's coming.
The legs are going to thaw out faster than anything else. And all you need is to get the legs to bend ever so slightly to be able to fit into one of the white ice chests.
Okay. Will it fit in the fridge?
I don't know. I kind of doubt it.
That's too bad.
I mean, I can figure that out with a tape measure pretty quick.
Yeah, we should measure them.
What we'll do is measure the length of one of those ice chests and then measure the inside of a fridge.
I mean, we could measure the actual piece of meat.
We'll do that too.
Yeah. Because my other thought was if we can get them in a fridge, then that's a better I mean, we can do it in a cooler with a probe, so I make sure it doesn't go above 42 degrees, which it shouldn't, but no. Once he's defrosted, then we got to keep ice in there until we cook him.
Okay.
And then it's, then we're roasting, which
Okay.
is what Friday is dedicated to next week. He will already be barbecuing himself Friday at this show.
Okay.
Next Friday is the last show of the year.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. Any other ideas on how to do it? We were almost going to have the talk about digging the pit and pit roasting the animal. And then I realized a friend of mine had one of those. I can't remember what the boxes are called, but they're like something that starts with a C box. Yeah. Okay. You don't know either. But anyway, so he'll roast for about 5 hours in that thing.
My brain just went to who thought it was a good idea to try to dig a hole right now?
Well, if there was an excavator here, it would make sense. So the other way is you dig a pit and it's got to be, I think it's 4 feet wide and 4 feet long and 2 or 3 feet deep, which is great if you have an excavator. And then you line it with stone and bricks. And then you have a big fire in said pit until it's coals. And then you put a rack in there and you cover with banana leaves the animal. And then you bury it and you just wait while it roasts in the ground with the coals.
Who exactly were you planning on paying to do all of this?
Mona says, but pit roasting is tasty and you add root vegetables. Yeah. God, speaking of which, I wanted to roast some potatoes tonight because we have potato people coming. The dinner guests also eat potatoes. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, a lot of people like to pair meatloaf with potatoes. Yeah.
No, I forgot about the people.
The people part of tonight. Yeah, so yeah, pit roasting sounds fun to me, but I feel like that's going to be more of a summer thing. And if we ever were to dig that kind of pit, I would want to permanently build the pit, which I used to have one up there, a pig pit up there. I had an above ground pit that was half in ground and half above ground with cinder blocks that worked great for roasting pigs. I roasted more than one pig in that thing. So it's not, the funny thing is it's not hard to roast a whole animal, which is why I'm willing to take on a whole animal for the December 20th party. But yeah, it is definitely a thing.
There is a spot that would be relatively easy
He's
to
like,
build a pit.
Maybe we could put a pit in. Here or there?
Over there.
Oh, at my house?
Like over there.
Where over there?
Go through the gate by the outhouse and to the right-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
And you've basically got 2 sides of a hole already.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would just be a matter of figuring the rest of it out.
Yeah, that was Chestnut.
I figured.
Well,
Brown Street across the yard.
We might have to build another pig roasting pit. I imagine you've already thrown my pig rack away.
I think that thing did go to scrap metal because
Yeah.
it was already in multiple pieces.
So we'll have to make another one. If only we knew a welder.
I actually have some cast iron stuff that would probably work.
You know, that welder is going to be over tonight if you have tools that he needs to go home with.
I do.
Oh, hey, cool. So we've been purging here. It's funny. My buddy, not buddy, but friend, associate, I don't know what to call him. Anyway, John Moody, who I know, I am friendly with. I just haven't talked to him lately, so I'm not sure if we're friends or not. So I wish him no ill will at all. The word friend is a different kind of word for me than most people because of my German background. Like, you're a friend. Yeah.
I've got friends I haven't talked to in years.
Yeah.
We're still friends.
I have a few of those. Usually I've actually talked to you. But anyway, so he posted this morning about overwhelmed households. And if you're feeling overwhelmed and can't keep up, a 50% reduction in stuff really helps you keep up.
I'm just a fan of 50% reduction.
And so I was like, well, I've already done a 50% reduction. And the thing is, once you do the first 50% reduction, suddenly you want to do a second one and see how that will go. And then when that's done, you want to do a third one, right?
I'm kind of a fan of how much stuff do I actually need?
Yeah. So anyway, that's why you're giving away tools, right?
Well, I mean, I don't use the welder that much, and I know that he does not have that kind of a welder, and it would be a useful tool for him. So my thought was, I'm going to send this to his shop, and if I need to use it, I'm going to call him and be like, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna swing by tomorrow to do something real quick."
Yeah.
And then
Should I get rid of the other welder that was supposed to be a plasma cutter?
that is a plasma cutter.
Oh, it is a plasma cutter. Okay, we should keep the plasma cutter.
I'm sending that with him too. It's still yours.
But if I need to use it, I have to bring it back here. Can we?
What
can
are you
we,
going to use it
Can
for?
we cut the barrel first before we send it?
Cut what barrel?
The barrel that's down the hill. We didn't
We're
want
going to do that. I'm going to take it to his shop and do it
Okay,
there.
fine. He can have the plasma cutter. I never use a plasma cutter, by the way.
I haven't even taken that thing out of the packaging.
It's out of the packaging.
Well, like the plastic part.
Yeah.
Like the box.
You're not wrong.
Rained on.
You're not wrong. Okay, fine.
And it's not that I don't have a use for a plasma cutter, but I'm not doing a huge amount of
You
metal
rarely,
work.
I mean, we rarely have a use for a plasma cutter, to be truthful.
Yeah.
Now, if we make the rocket stove biochar thing that Opalin's going to make when she's here in April, that's when we would use a plasma cutter and welding tools.
Okay.
So we might need to borrow it back for 2 days while she's here.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't have a metal workshop here.
No. And I have to, like my welder, I have to fire a generator up just to run the thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, the 50% reduction things means you have to let go of things like the plasma cutter, which hurt my heart for a second, but I'm over it now, so we can get rid of it. He's like, good, because I was going to get rid of it anyway. But I think it's actually cool. And in Tennessee, in particular, with our environment here, our climate, keeping tools around that you never turn on leads to tools not turning on because of if they're not used, they don't stay lubricated and stuff. And so just storing a lot of tools, it seems like, well, tools are always useful, not if you don't use said useful tools. And that's true for cars and lawnmowers and circular saws and tile cutting saws. And I mean, it goes on. And I've had a number of things where I was like, I have a great tile saw that I had in Oregon, and I go to turn it on and it's been sitting for 5 years because I haven't done a tile job in 5 years, and it doesn't turn right anymore. And it's not something, you know, they're not nice enough that it's worth trying to fix them, basically. So
I was looking for some information on something the other day, and the amount and variety of chemicals suggested to use to strip the coating off of this stuff was kind of impressive. And I was just sitting there thinking, water and sunlight, two things that are the enemy of everything.
yeah,
Throw that thing out in the sun, let it get rained on. And that's basically, if you leave something even in an outbuilding here, it's at least getting the water.
yeah. Speaking of which, the log splitter
Humidity.
probably needs to come back over here and get
Yeah.
taken care of because it's sitting out where it shouldn't. And we actually use that thing.
Y'all use it more than I do.
I know, but it's really useful.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my thoughts. I'm in a purge mode right now, both stuff wise and personal duty wise, like what we're focusing on for 2026, as we talked about on Monday. Don't forget, we'll be back with an update on the word of the year and our last like standalone show with me on Tuesday next week at 2 p.m. Guys, I hope you have a great weekend and take some time to just enjoy the season. You know, that's what we're here for. It's not about freaking out and getting the perfect gift for this person or that person. It really is, I think, more about connecting. So anyway, have a great weekend with that. Go out, make it a great week.